I believe that relational psychotherapists are well positioned to help clients who struggle with the chronic shame that follows on early relational trauma. If it's a core problem for them, we need to address it, always subliminally and often directly. It is indeed possible to work with chronic shame effectively, as illustrated in the second part of this book. But to do effective work with chronic shame, we first need to understand it well. The aim of the first part of the book. Rather than begin with shame theory, however, I will begin with some stories from my own practice. The personalities and circumstances are fictionalized, but the essential situations are real, and so is the chronic shame at the heart of them. In their dissimilarity, these stories illustrate the range and variety of disguises that chronic shame wears. They also reveal some important common themes that belong to the experience of chronic shame. Producing a stellar performance. Recently, a client returned to me after several years away. I'll call her Claire. I first saw her when she'd just lost an executive position. With a generous severance package, she'd set up a consulting firm of her own. But she couldn't make herself do the work to keep her business running. She found herself spending days drifting to the kitchen and eating too much, evenings drinking too much, and nights sleeping badly. Claire came to me because, as she put it, I need someone to kick my butt. We found, instead, that she needed me to understand what being a vice president had meant to her. The sense of worth and power it had given her, and what it felt like to have all of that ripped away with no warning. She believed she should have seen it coming. She thought maybe she should have refused the package and fought back. But nobody wins against company lawyers. As Claire came to realize that there was nothing she could have done, she began to feel the pain of her loss more acutely, and then she could accept the sadness and anger of a grief process. She was surprised to find that on the other side of grief, she was less anxious and more able to organize her life productively. It seemed our work was done. Claire returned 4 years later. Her consulting firm was now a partnership of 2, and they were writing a book. She had also turned her hobby of buying, renovating, and selling houses into a second business. She felt competent and powerful again, but there was something wrong in her marriage. She was on the verge of having an affair. I suggested couple therapy with a colleague, and she saw me concurrently. Claire had never spoken much about her husband, whom I'll call Jeffrey. They had married in their late 30s and decided not to have children. They had interests in common: travelling, golf, building a cottage. She made him laugh, and he was like a rock for her. A buttoned-down accountant, but a really good man. In couple therapy, they learned that both of them had been feeling lonely and misunderstood by the other for quite a while. In her own therapy, Claire worked hard to understand what was going on for her. She didn't want to leave Jeff for Larry, she said, but it was so very tempting. Larry was a good time guy, life of the party. A lot like me, Claire said. He could match her energy in ways her safe husband never could. Claire wanted to break free, to soar on unclipped wings. But as it turned out, when Claire pursued Larry a little harder, he played hard to get. To save her self-respect, she wrote him off. Meanwhile, in the couple therapy, Claire and Jeff were talking to each other and feeling understood. As energy returned to her primary relationship, Claire's restlessness and anxiety abated. Again, it seemed our work was done. But recently, after another 5 years away, Claire returned again. She had sold her business interests to younger partners to retire early. It was the pleasant retirement she and Jeff had planned, with time for weekends away and long trips abroad. However, once again Claire was miserable at home. "I can't believe I feel this bad," Claire told me in her first session back. "Stuff from years ago is coming back to me. I think about losing the VP position, how that could have been different. If I'd just been smarter."